I think one thing that I really tell my staff, I preach to them, like two things that I learned at Clemson from the directors I worked for is just I want people that are trustworthy around me and are going to work really, really hard. If you can just be trustworthy, ride or die, have the head person's back, and then just work extremely hard and be extremely hungry too. Like that's one thing. Like I hold relationships really close to my heart, and I'm always going to take care of people that take care of me. So it's not like a me at the top, the pinnacle, and everyone else below me. It's a, hey, help me help you, because we're all gonna have to lean on one another at some point.
All right, hey y'all, thanks again for tuning in to another Coach's Q&A. I got a rock star on today. I got Stephanie Mock with me. She's the director of Olympic sports for strength and conditioning at Mississippi State University. Mock, you and I kind of go back a couple years. We're around the same age. We kind of popped onto the scene around the same time. For those people that are listening that don't know you as well, kind of tell them about who you are, what you're about, and what you're currently doing.
Yeah, Stephanie Mock. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Been in the field for a hot minute now. I'm like, man, we're kind of getting old, Marisa. It's sad. I have to grow up at some point here. But so I've been in a few different universities. First one starting that got me off was West Virginia University. I played volleyball there. And then towards the end of my career, I started interning with the football strength staff, Mike Joseph and the gang. And then from West Virginia, I went to University of Pittsburgh, worked with Kim King, was there for the summer. And then after that, I traveled down south, and I've just stayed down here. I went to Clemson in South Carolina. I worked with Dennis Love and then Rick Franzblau. So it was definitely a unique experience getting to see both of them be directors in their own ways. And then, I was there for 5 years. I started as an intern, worked to assistant director at Clemson. I was really lucky to get promoted and be able to stay at one place and see that program grow and see it through. And then from there, now I'm at Mississippi State University. I've been here a little over a year and a half, 2 years in July, and I've really enjoyed it. I've been able to hire on some of my old interns from Clemson, Aaron Duval and Trey North are my assistants now. So it's been nice to be able to bring people that already know me, my personality, and making sure that I hire people that bring different scopes and talents to make myself well-rounded. Because I'm pretty extroverted, so I got to bring balance to the table of the analytics side, someone that can keep me in line. So it's been pretty awesome to be able to hire my own staff, add positions, and then I did get to renovate the whole entire weight room. So it's been really exciting during my time here. And thanks for having me on today. I'm excited.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think you touched on something that I think young coaches, they hear about, but they don't really understand it until they're in it. You talked about how you were able to hire on people that you know. Can you kind of touch on how important or how there were other opportunities where maybe you as a coach, like, for example, you were kept on at Clemson, and it's because you established yourself, you created those relationships, and you became a part of that network, and now that network extends to Mississippi State. And like you said, you've been able to hire on people. Can you just talk a little bit about, how important it is to know people and network with people in the field?
Yeah, I think one thing that I really tell my staff, I preach to them, like two things that I learned at Clemson from the directors I worked for is just I want people that are trustworthy around me and are going to work really, really hard. If you do those two things for me, like for example, if I'm traveling on the road and my staff's in the weight room and I'm not there, I need to be able to trust within them that they're going to do the right things, right? If you can do those two things for me, and that's something that was preached to me when I was at Clemson and I got to move up the ranks, is like, I know it's corny, but be great where your feet are is a great point, because I see so many young professionals sitting on their computer and constantly like looking for jobs. And I'm like, guys, if you do a great job here, I will put my name on you and help you find a job. I kind of joke, like, I'm your agent. I'm here to help.
Yeah, that's true.
Like taking care of business where you're at. And that's what I did. Luckily at Clemson is like, I just took all the responsibilities they gave me and did it at the highest level and showed that I could take on more and more responsibilities. And you have to create value in yourself. Like, what do I bring to the table that everybody else doesn't bring? And do that at a high level. And I think if you can just be trustworthy, ride or die, have the head person's back, and then just work extremely hard and be extremely hungry too. Like that's one thing, like I hold relationships really close to my heart, and I'm always going to take care of people that take care of me. So it's not like a me at the top, the pinnacle, and everyone else below me. It's a, hey, help me help you, because we're all going to have to lean on one another at some point. So yeah, just relationships and just a growth mindset, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, you talked about being hungry, and I think there's a difference between being hungry, always looking, versus being hungry with where you're at. And you talked about like 10 toes down. Like, that's not corny at all. I think a lot of people can take that advice to heart and like use it to their advantage. But it's so important, not necessarily to be hungry, like you said, always looking for jobs, but like really challenge yourself, like wherever you're at right now, how can you do more for more people, right? And like talk about, you know, like supporting whoever's above you, supporting whoever's below you, supporting whoever's besides you. And at the end of the day, like that's where those like magic staffs happen, right? When like everybody gets along, everybody's like cool with each other, they complete one another. And I think it starts with yourself and you know, taking care of yourself and understanding where you are, but like kind of figuring out how you can help other people. So definitely a big point. So talk about a little bit, you know, obviously your passion's exuding and, you know, you have so much to say about, you know, your time and working with people and stuff like that. What's something that makes you tick outside of it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just such a big relationships person. And even like right now with everything going on, the amount of just like interns that have reached out to me because they like the one thing we have on the racks at Mississippi State, which like everyone is like, it says family on the racks. And one of my old interns, he's at Clemson now as an assistant, Billy Cedar. He would always say like, it's not just something we put on the racks, which it's true. Like it's something that I like to have, like I had everybody over, not recently because of social distancing, but I try to have them over on the weekends and we play card games and have a good time. So I think, especially like being here in Mississippi, a lot of people are moving far from home. So I want to make sure I'm taking care of them along with myself. So I think just during this time outside of work, I really value my family and catching up with them. And that's one thing I've actually been able to do because usually I'm in softball season right now and I'm traveling with them. We're playing games all weekend and my ability to actually touch base with my family is limited. So it's been kind of nice. Of course, we don't want the coronavirus to happen. That makes it whatever else, but nice to be able to just catch up with everybody and like not only, of course, my old interns because we're trying to take the scope outside of work, but my family members too, touching base with them, seeing how everyone's doing and kind of reflecting, you know, it's the time to reflect and kind of not only just like professionally, but personally, what can I do better in my life? And everything happens for a reason. I always think that, you know, so yeah, taking this time really for everyone to reflect on things you can do better, not only professionally, but outside of that too is important.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And you kind of, you know, you created a great crossroad to, you know, talking about our student athletes and, you know, how they're doing the things and, you know, how you're continuing to convey messages and stuff like that to them, making sure that they stay in touch and you quote unquote they remember who you are. We talked about this a little earlier. Can you talk about what your communication looks like with your athletes right now, or maybe some things that you're doing with them that are helping them through?
Yeah. I'll first even start to kind of backtrack just with like my staff and then we can because that's been like that's also a struggle of just like you go from spending time with your staff like 14 hours a day to all of a sudden like not seeing them anymore. And us as strength coaches, we thrive off of structure. So the first thing I did, like when we found out, hey, we can't go in the weight rooms, all this stuff going on, I'm like, all right, what are we going to do to keep tabs on everybody? And like, not only keep growing, but just making sure everyone's okay. You know, like if you're living by yourself, everyone, like a lot of my interns moved here far from home and they're living by themselves, like keeping tabs on them just emotionally to make sure they're okay. And then also like professionally to make sure we're growing. So I'm very driven. So I'm like, all right, what are we going to lay out? So we do Zoom calls every day at like 9:00 as a staff. We're doing some continuing education calls too. But what we're really working through is just like one rule for us is just relentless pursuit for education and just continue education. So making sure like we set some goals of reading every day, 30 to 60 minutes. And we picked a staff book, Mladen, strength training manual. We're working through volume 1 and volume 2, and then also a personal book. And each staff meeting, we can talk about those things, but then we also picked just like an overarching theme of the week. So like Monday, we're working through Brett's online course, the valued course. Like Tuesday, we do listen to a podcast and then chat about it in the staff meeting. Wednesday, we have complimentary training, look at some type of article or book. Thursday, utilize the Strength Coach Network that we have a login to. And then Friday, FRC, watch some different videos. So I think laying out structure is so important because as strength coaches, we thrive off of that. And right now we don't have it unless you lay it out. So talking with my staff and laying those things out, and then that bridges into also how we're creating structure with the student athletes. Like I sent them a couple different videos about just like, all right, we go from being extremely busy and us laying out every little thing that you need to do to now nothing. So I in different like videos, whether it was like the Pittsburgh Penguins, the director of sports science, he put up a good tweet of like, hey, these are things that you need to focus on. Like, where should you be studying or reading? Like, probably not in your bed because that's where you're supposed to sleep. So create good habits. And then one thing with the student athletes, like that I feel like we've done a pretty good job here at Mississippi State is just taking the time to educate them on the why behind things. So like State Sports Performance Group, we came together and like when the freshmen come in, we do an onboarding process of educating them of like what all our roles are. So like for SNC, like what's my job? Like from whenever they come on and we're doing like the Ground Zero program, like why are we doing all this bodyweight stuff? They're like, I've been lifting, doing this, doing that, like educating them on that. And then sports psych will go into like the stigma of sports psychology, getting over that, nutrition. Hey, you've never had a dietitian before. What the heck is my job? Let's talk about it. So in the athletic training, they'll go over all the recovery modalities, like the boots and everything else, because some places now have boots like in the facility. So like understanding time and place. But I think we've done a really good job of educating them and creating a player-led culture and not so much coach-fed, that like as we get into a time like this, I can trust in the student athletes because we put some type of educational plan in place before this, that we've prepared them like, okay, like I don't have to, like, and we're not allowed to anyways, but like do Zoom calls and hold them accountable and do the workouts with them. Like if they want to do the workouts, they're going to do them. And that's what we have like in the weight room. We created some core values, whether it's dominate the other 20 hours of the day, holding yourself and your teammates accountable, things like that. So they understand the expectations that we have in place. So like when times like this come, like we already more or less train them for it, you know?
Right.
So relying on that is huge.
Nice. That's awesome. So, I mean, I know, usually you're sharing your home with your staff or, your significant other and stuff like that. But how has you alluded to this a little bit earlier about your family dynamics. Like you've really been able to take advantage of talking to them. But, has anything changed with like your fiance that he's away or like stuff like that where, something's just been different with like what's going on?
Yeah, I think my big thing is like change is the only constant in our lives.
Right.
Being able to adapt to that is just like, it's huge. Like adaptability, whether it's like in the weight room and in our field or your personal life, being able to understand that change is a constant and difficult roads often lead to beautiful destinations. Like I have some in my office that says that. So like during the difficult times, being able to power through and like, if I can get through that personally and professionally, like talking to my staff and being able to have empathy for them and talking through things. Cause like I've had some of my old interns reach out to me and GA saying like, hey, all of a sudden, like I got called in last week saying I'm not getting paid anymore. Like as a GA or a paid intern, because if they're hourly workers, like I'm not getting, maybe they, like one of my interns, they had a side job of like personal training to make more money. And now they can't do that. And I'm like, shoot, like, please let me know what I can do, cause like, I think that's something that's happening right now that people aren't realizing, like full timers, like even my stuff, I'm like, hey, we're all good, like for now and things like that. But like right now is creating so much uncertainty for everybody. So I think just like, I know people are putting like GoFundMe's up and things like that, but I'm like, I told some interns like, oh my gosh, if you can't like afford rent, come here and stay with me. Of course, if it's social distance, but like, I think people need to think about some of these like younger people in the field too. Yeah. Possibly we can help them out,
I think that's a huge point, and you're one of the first coaches that have actually brought that up. And I mean, I think we understand like a broader view of it, but that specifically, like, not everybody can pay the bills, and because they're not being paid right now, and it is a time of uncertainty, and I think, everything that you say about helping them out, opening up your home, and it's tough because you're supposed to do social distancing, but I mean, it's the reality of it. And like, I even had a coach hit me up and was like, hey, does PLAE have any, part-time work that I can do? Like, I'm going home. And it's tough because we don't right now, because, we're too far into rabbit hole of working from home and creating structure and stuff like that. But, you know, it's just one of those things that we have to be mindful of that population. I know another thing that a lot of staffs are doing, they're structuring out every day so then they can turn around and prove to administration, like, hey, we're still working. Like we're still working on ourselves. We're still working on our staff. Like this is what we're doing with our athletes. And I think that's so important that we kind of keep minutes on that so that we don't have to go into furlough or like, you know, be in a position where, you know, we stop being paid. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, anything that you want to like touch on or talk about or anything like that?
Yeah, I think like you have to reflect. Like I was talking to our performance group in a performance meeting a couple of days ago in a Zoom call about like, man, without the athletes, like what a job, low-key, like holy cow. So I think like taking time to make sure that you're like staying in touch with the student athletes. Like we have a group meet. I'm like, hey, if you guys don't know anything on the sheet, like sending videos or like one thing I'm really big on relationships. So like I sent a video the other day of like my home gym. I'm like, hey guys, just touching base, like our training cycle, like it starts today. So if you guys have questions, please let me know. And it's like via group me. So it's a 30-second clip. So it's not like, oh my God, Coach Mug sent me a video. It's 2 minutes long. Just something quick to keep my face in front of them and keep that relationship there. But like in no sense of like we can't hold them like accountable and be like, log in every day at 4:00 and do your training cycle with me. But also another piece that we're trying to do is we're working on putting together just some like care packages for the student athletes. We talked to the performance group, like sports psych, putting something in a little care package with myself from strength, nutrition, athletic training, and then like the sport coach, if there's something like specific to their sport that they weren't able to take because everything happened so abruptly.
Mm-hmm.
We're working on putting together some type of care package to send to them, just so we can help them out in any way, shape, or form. Of course, we can't shove a barbell into a bag, right? But a few different things, just hopefully open up some different exercise pieces that we can utilize with them.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. And, you know, we talked earlier that I know there are a few coaches or a few staffs that are trying to do that. And I really think it is important to remind them like, hey, I still exist. Like I'm your coach. Like we're still together. But anyway, so just to kind of wrap things up, I have a set of, I call them my Corona fire questions, not sponsored by Corona, but basically is your the situation right now with COVID-19 being a thing. So you can try to answer them with one word as best you can.
Oh goodness, here we go. I talk way too much, so this should be interesting.
But no, it should be good. So what is your new COVID go-to breakfast?
Wait, I get one word for this?
Do your best.
Kodiak cake muffin. Boom.
Okay, awesome.
So we're fine. Too much coffee.
Okay. Any new COVID activity?
Walking at night to make sure I fill my Apple Watch, which is I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta get the circles filled. So yeah, walking like outside. I feel like my neighbors are like, who is this random lady that's appeared? Like I've lived here for a while, I'm just usually never here.
Yeah, no, that's actually been quite a few coaches' responses that they're like, I walk in my neighborhood and it's different. Okay, any new COVID habit that you've taken on?
Calling family more frequently.
Okay.
Yes, just like more consistently now than ever, which has been really nice.
Nice. That's awesome. Anything that, is there anything you took advantage of before COVID hit?
I'm sorry, what?
Anything you took advantage of before COVID hit?
I just love to be busy. So the fact, like, I just enjoy structure and just going all day long. And this has forced me to slow down. Like anybody that's been around me, I just go nonstop. Definitely the definition of all gas, no brakes. But yeah, I think this has definitely just forced me to slow down and reflect, which I can appreciate.
Totally. And then lastly, any new COVID TV show or movie that's like been your jam?
I've just been taking a lot more time to read because being in charge, like it's just, I'm like, all right, every night I'm going to read for like 30 minutes, let's say, or in the morning, 30 minutes. I aimed at like one of our staff goals is reading every day. So I've just been taking advantage of, as corny as this sounds, just being able to read and not get like disrupted.
Yeah. That's
I'll be like reading at the end of the day, and then like my staff comes in and asks me questions, and I love them to death. I'm like, this is awesome. But like being home, I'm like, yes, I'm just gonna read freely, and I'm just doing the dang thing. It's great.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, there's a lot of great pieces that you offered our audience today, and just want to thank you so much for being a part of it.
No, thanks for having me on, Marissa. Great to catch up always. See, we're getting this time to do things like this. This is great.